And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a truly, truly fantastic day today. Welcome back to another Fanboy Friday. Fanboys, we sincerely hope your day is going terrible. On behalf of all basketball fans who appreciate the game for its competition, who appreciate the players who play the game with integrity, on behalf of all of us, we hope the fanboys of LeBron James, we hope your day is going terrible, and we hope every video I do makes your day a little more terrible. So, you see the title of the video. I was scrolling through YouTube, and this video pops up of the deer and Draymond Green, the deer and the donkey, strolling through the streets of Monaco. And I'm assuming this was during the time of the Olympics. And, it kind of got me thinking, well, first of all, just a little bit about the video. So pretty much is LeBron and his flunky Draymond walking through the streets of Monaco. It looks like maybe about 20 people kind of following them, snapping selfies, trying to get selfies of them. And of course, LeBron has a little entourage that's keeping him insulated from the people, because LeBron James is not really a man of the people. He just tries to make himself seem like he is one, but he's not. So he's keeping himself insulated from the people. You see Draymond interact with the people a little bit. And so, yeah, I couldn't help but think as I was watching this that this was probably more than likely some footage that they plan on using for whenever LeBron James tries to copy Michael Jordan once again by putting out his own Last Dance type of documentary. And so it just kind of got me thinking about what could this documentary possibly look like? Like, for someone like LeBron James, who has, again, moved the goalposts his entire career, who has taken shortcuts, what could this documentary for LeBron James look like? And, it got me thinking about The Last Dance. The Last Dance, that stole the show during the pandemic, while The Last Dance was breaking viewer records for documentaries. LeBron James in the 2020 bubble finals was also setting records for lowest viewers for the finals. So, they both were breaking records during the 2020 pandemic. But it got me thinking about The Last Dance and, what people were saying about The Last Dance. It obviously had a huge impact for those of us who grew up during that time. Man, it was such a great moment, because not only did they do a good job of, to me, covering the story of the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan in particular, but the music they chose. Shout out to Angry Old Hoops, because he recently did a segment about the music for The Last Dance. And so, yeah, it just brought back so many memories of the time that was going on. And for the younger viewers, it seemingly really opened up the eyes of a lot of younger viewers of the story of Michael Jordan, and not only his greatness as a player, but his competitiveness, his killer will, the obstacles he had to overcome. It just really seemed like it opened up the eyes for a lot of younger fans, so much so that when they did a poll directly after The Last Dance, Michael Jordan wiped the floor with LeBron in every single category, even categories that you wouldn't think, just due to narratives, that Michael Jordan would win, like who was the better passer. Like, Michael Jordan literally wiped the floor with LeBron James in every single category. after The Last Dance. And, there was a lot of criticism about The Last Dance because they said, hey, it focused too much on Michael Jordan and not the Chicago Bulls as a whole. But I think The Last Dance was exactly what it needed to be to do as well as it did. Nobody's interested in the Bulls as a whole. If we're talking about not necessarily true basketball fans as a whole, but when you're just talking about people in general as a whole, everybody knows the name Michael Jordan. When you see the number 23, you do not think of the deer, you think of Michael Jordan. And so everybody is familiar with the name Michael Jordan. So for non-basketball fans, it would not make sense to have The Last Dance simply focus equally on the Chicago Bulls. People want to know about Michael Jordan. People want to know about this guy that has claimed the throne of the GOAT for more than the last 20 years. That's who people are interested in. And so it only made sense for The Last Dance to be centered around Michael Jordan. Now, despite that, I think it actually did a good job of focusing on people who had an interesting story to tell. You found out a little bit about, if you were paying attention, some of the other players like B.J. Armstrong and Horace Grant, but some people that came to mind that they kind of really took a moment to focus on. Obviously, Scottie Pippen, even though Scottie Pippen didn't like what they said about him, or in particular didn't like the fact that they brought up the whole thing of him refusing to go in the game because Phil Jackson decided to let Kukoc take the last shot. Even though he didn't like that, even you did it, Scottie. I'm not sure what you're upset about. I thought the segment on Scottie Pippen was good and informative. And, I feel like I learned some things about Scottie Pippen that I wouldn't have necessarily known without seeing that. It talked a lot about Dennis Rodman, somebody else who I think has a story that's worthy of having some spotlight and that people will be interested in. And I'm talking about, again, when we're talking about trying to get the most viewers, which The Last Dance did, again, did better than the finals that year with LeBron James. When you're talking about getting the most viewers, to me, it's about captivating the audience and Dennis Rodman. They focused on him a bit. And then they talked about the relationship between Jordan and Steve Kerr and the fight. And so, I thought they did a good job of and then, of course, they talked about Phil Jackson pretty in depth. So I thought they did a good job about talking about key things as it related to the story, but obviously it was all focused on Michael Jordan. Now, another thing is, despite people being upset with, saying it focused too much on Michael Jordan and being upset that Michael Jordan, I guess, gave the okay for that segment with Scottie to be in, showing how he refused to go in the game. I thought it did a good job of showing Michael Jordan and some of his flaws. And obviously he didn't have any basketball flaws, but showing some of his character flaws, or things that could potentially be a stain on his reputation. One thing they talked about in The Last Dance that was huge at the time, everybody remembers when the whole gambling scandal was going on, when his father was murdered, and they were trying to say that it had something to do with the gambling. Like, they actually covered that in The Last Dance, talked about it. They actually showed how Michael Jordan could be towards his teammates, with Michael Jordan himself saying, he had some apprehension about how people would look at him after seeing that. And so Michael Jordan had negative things about him. They also talked about him being apprehensive when Phil Jackson first became the coach of the Chicago Bulls, because Phil Jackson was going to take the ball out of his hands more. He was trying to make it more of a team concept with the triangle offense, and Michael Jordan was apprehensive about it, even though he went along with it. Again, that's because Michael Jordan is coachable, unlike the deer. Michael Jordan showed some things that could be seen in a negative light, and that has been seen in a negative light. That's one of the things that you ridiculous LeBron James fanboys love to constantly bring up, even though that has nothing to do with how great of a basketball player. But you love to bring up, oh, well, Michael Jordan punched Steve Kerr, and Michael Jordan punched this player, and he was an a-hole to his teammates. Somebody recently commented on that in the video within the last week, and was like, I don't care what you say, that makes his legacy less in my book. Hey, fanboys, we don't care if you guys are sensitive and you can't handle any real life situations. We really don't care. Like, if you think that Michael Jordan being an a-hole and winning 6 championships makes his legacy look worse because he was an a-hole to his teammates, that just shows how soft you are. And I've said this before. Like, your king is soft and so are you. You are ridiculous and so is your king. So yeah, they showed a lot of Michael Jordan's flaws, and it kind of got me thinking. So Michael Jordan was able to show his flaws and show things that people wouldn't necessarily see in a positive light. Will LeBron James do the same? Or will this truly be a piece where they leave out every negative thing about LeBron as it pertains to what he does? They will include the negative stuff that happens to him. They will include the things about saying, oh, everybody wanted him to fail, and this happened to him, and that happened to him. But will they actually include the things that might make people look at LeBron sideways? Going back to The Last Dance, highlighting certain key teammates of Michael Jordan. It's like, in the LeBron James documentary, who will they take the time to highlight? Because it will get awkward. Because to me, you have to say D Wade has to be in the documentary. D Wade and Chris Bosh has to be in the documentary. Ray Allen has to be in the documentary. Except the awkward thing about it is these players will likely deserve their own documentary. It's not like they were the supporting cast. Like, these were main characters. Matter of fact, these were main characters, especially when you're talking about D Wade. This was D Wade's story, who LeBron came and invaded. So who will be some of those players in LeBron James' career that they take a moment out to tell us about their story as well, like we found out about Scottie Pippen's story? Who will be the coach that they take time out in the LeBron James documentary to tell us about the coaching story? Probably none, because LeBron James doesn't give credit to any of his coaches. Who will be that coach that we get to find out about, like Phil Jackson? Are they gonna stop and talk about Kyrie? Are they gonna give us some backstory to AD? Who are gonna be the secondary important characters to this story? Who's gonna be the secondary players that is included in the documentary about the false king, that I have no doubt in my mind right now. I'm saying this so whenever the documentary comes out, I'm sure it's probably going to come out probably the year after LeBron James retires, because he's going to have to do something to stay in the spotlight. He's not going to be able to wait years to put out his documentary. So this is something else you can put me on record as saying. That documentary is coming out soon after LeBron James retires. It's not going to take that long. A year, I would say 2 max, but I'm going to say within the year. The next thing, put me on record as saying, is that documentary is going to be, you think The Last Dance was focused about Michael Jordan? This LeBron James documentary is going to be all about LeBron James. And it's only going to talk about negative things as it affected LeBron James. It's not going to talk about the negative aspect of his personality. But like I was saying, who would be those players that, you know, that they give a segment to because they were an important piece in LeBron James' career. Here's a question. Will they talk about the 2021 season? Will they talk about the 2021 season where LeBron James tried to form the ultimate super team with Russell Westbrook, with Carmelo Anthony, with Dwight Howard, with Rondo on that team, and how big of a failure it was? Will they even include that in the documentary, and what will they say about it? Will LeBron take some blame for that season? Will he, in some way, shape, or form, will he at least admit that, hey, I did a poor job of putting together a roster? Because LeBron James put together this roster. Let's be for real. People try to lie and pretend like they don't know that LeBron James plays GM, but we all know what the deal is. So will he admit that he's at least at fault for putting together the roster? But if we're being honest, he should admit that he didn't do a good job leading that team. But it's several reasons for that. It's because, again, LeBron James is not an alpha like that. LeBron James is not that alpha that when he steps in the room, everyone knows that this is the guy. Again, we know that just from the top 75 celebration. We know that just from the top 75 celebration. Again, you don't hear the stories about, oh man, yeah, I was sitting there talking to Carmelo and blah, 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 blah. But man, when LeBron James walked in, the whole room just got quiet. This is what we hear about Michael Jordan. Out of the top 75 players, the top 75 who they've deemed the top 75 greatest of all time, one person walked in and everybody else knew what time it was. We've heard the stories from Carmelo, from D Wade, I think Damian Lillard, just from countless players who said, from Allen Iverson, who said, man, when MJ walked in, like that's the moment. This is the moment that constantly comes up. This tells you a lot about not only, like I said, MJ's impact as a basketball player, but this just tells you a lot about who is the definitive guy when he walks in the room. No question. It's not LeBron. We haven't heard any stories. Not one. Fanboys, put one. Find me one story of someone saying, man, when LeBron showed up to the top 75, find me one of those stories, and next Fanboy Fridays, I wish you have a great day like everyone else just for that one Friday. But we don't hear those stories because LeBron James is not that guy. We know Michael Jordan got the biggest round of applause, and it wasn't even close, and they were in Cleveland. So yeah, you know, will they talk about the negative sides to LeBron? And I'm not even talking about the flopping and stuff, because we already know that they're not going to include the flopping in this documentary. We already know they're not going to include the whining. They're not going to. He's not going to come out and say, well, you know, I got to a point in my career to where I just felt like everything was against me all the time, and the refs were all against me. And so, yeah, man, I got into a bad habit of whining. And looking back on that, you know, I regret it. But yeah, I did whine for. We're not gonna hear that, you know. But some things that I feel like we should hear is some of the stuff like trying to have Kyrie traded. This is information that is out there that I feel like if LeBron James is gonna do a documentary, and number one, let's get something clear. The thing that made The Last Dance so great is that Michael Jordan was willing to show some of the negative sides of himself. Those were the parts that were kind of shocking to see, because we all knew what a competitor Michael Jordan was. We all knew what a trash talker Michael Jordan could be. But to see him in practice, like cussing at his teammates and you know, having that impatience, and we all know that it was because he demanded perfection. This is Horace Grant. He said that, you know, MJ demanded perfection. But to see him actually doing that, you know, was probably shocking for a lot of people, especially considering that, you know, MJ's image back in the 90s for the most part was, you know, that of a role model. That of, like I said, the whole gambling thing, that's what made it so crazy back then, is that they thought that this knocked him down a notch or two as far as being that ultimate role model for kids to look up to. And at that point, this is when Michael Jordan kind of started, you know, I guess trying to live up to the hype in the image standpoint as much, you know, because he realized, hey, I'm just human, and these things are gonna happen, you know. I can't be perfect all the time. And so, yeah, will LeBron James show these moments, like him trying to have Kyrie traded? Will he talk about instances of his passive aggressive leadership? Will they talk about the 2018 thing with J.R. Smith getting the rebound and not going back up and not calling timeout, and LeBron and the way he handled that situation? Will they talk about those kind of things in the LeBron James documentary? Will they talk? They will have to talk about 2011. I know that for a fact. They're going to have to address it because LeBron James knows this is the biggest thing on his career. And if they don't address that, the whole documentary will look like a fraud like he is. So I know they will have to address 2011 in that documentary. But how they address it, that's going to be another story. You know, are they going to address it with some honesty with LeBron James saying, hey, I thought I had put together, you know, the funny thing, again, when we talk about 2011, the things that make it so unforgivable in totality is not just the fact that he lost. It's not just the fact that he got cooked by Jason Terry and that he didn't show up in fourth quarters. It's not just that. It's the fact that he went in cocky. Again, and this is the thing with that LeBron James and JJ Redick podcast that thankfully, I would doubt that we're going to see any more of that for a while. But this is the thing with that, is he got on that podcast and basically said that outside of the big three, they really didn't have a good team. They had minimum guys. This is what he said. Now, this is years later. This is what he's saying, and this is what he's saying to try to justify that 2011 loss. But LeBron James, that's not what you were saying when you were going into it, though. That's what's why you don't get a pass. That's what adds to it being unforgivable. It's like you got up here on your podcast a few months ago, looking back in hindsight, trying to make an excuse for 2011, saying, oh, you know, basically you were top heavy and you had minimum guys outside of the big three. That's what you called them, minimum guys. That was the terminology that he used. But that's not what you were saying back then. You were saying not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven. You and D Wade were making fun of Dirk in the tunnel for having a cold. So you guys actually thought that you had put together an unbeatable team. So that makes the loss that much more. And then add on top of the fact that for Dirk Nowitzki, again, the second oldest team in NBA history to win, and they did it against a super team. So, you know, if we're really talking, Dirk Nowitzki's championship is better than all of your championship. Nobody talks about that Cause everybody talks about 2011 from the negative standpoint of what it meant from LeBron, but nobody talks about what it really means for Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki led the second oldest team in NBA history over a victory over a super team. That's what Dirk Nowitzki did. That's what Jason Terry did. So yeah, they're gonna have to address 2011 in this documentary. But anyway, I could go on, but we gonna hold up here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think that the LeBron James documentary is going to be like? Inevitably, he is going to try to make it similar to The Last Dance as much as possible, just like he does the powder toss, just like he tried to shoot free throws with his eyes closed, just like he wears the number 23, just like he did Space Jam 2. You know, inevitably, he's going to try to make his documentary as much like The Last Dance as possible. But how genuine do you think the LeBron James documentary is going to be? Do you think he's actually going to talk about the negative attributes that has to do with him and his behavior? Or do you think they will only talk about poor LeBron, the athlete with the most pressure in history, the athlete that had to go up against all these juggernauts that just did not ever have enough help and just didn't ever have the right coach in his whole 22-year career? LeBron James, the athlete that had to deal with more despair than any other athlete in the history of sports, not just basketball, in the history of sports. And LeBron James it had his chance to win his 5th championship was ruined by his own son and his own friend JJ Redick. Poor LeBron James. So many obstacles he had to overcome that luckily for him, he had all the power in the NBA to create super teams, and otherwise he wouldn't have the championships he had. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. You all have a truly, truly fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. All right.